you've got your vital signs chart. Rule of nines, yes?
Real quick, go back to the other thing, on the elevation, if the patient's just complaining at that point, we're not gonna give them Mona?
Oh, yes, but they've already passed from depression to elevation.
Oh, okay, en route, we're still doing Mona, okay, that's confusing.
But the classic phrase you'll hear is all ischemic chest patients consider Mona. And so all of them will go through ischemia, go through the depression, before they start rising to heaven. So if they've got blood pressures adequate enough, no pertinent medical history for contraindications for your nitro, yes, treat that. Is everybody okay with the difference between right coronary, left coronary distribution?
Can you repeat?
Okay. So you know you have two coronary arteries. You know that coronary arteries feed oxygenated blood to the heart, but it also feeds it to the electrical conduction system, correct? Because electrical conduction system is made up of cells. All cells need oxygen. How do we get oxygen? Off the hemoglobin. The hemoglobin's attached to the red blood cell. Everybody follow? We're good.
Yes.
So, electrically and mechanically. So these are my coronaries. Geographically speaking, right covers right, inferior, posterior, left. Okay, so geographically, anatomically. Right covers right. So the right coronary supplies the right atrium, the right ventricle, and the inferior, posterior, left. So right covers right, inferior, posterior, left. Left covers left, inferior, right. You're in good hands with Allstate. So remember the commercial. So each coronary covers its own side, plus comes up underneath the opposite side. So you're in good hands. So that's anatomically. Right covers right, inferior, posterior, left. Left covers left, inferior, right. Now, you have 3 electrical co-ops. So 3 electrical co-ops, 2 in the top, 1 in the bottom. Everybody agree? So there's 2 electrical co-ops in the top, 1 in the bottom. So as you were developing as a fetus, we went out for bids. Who is going to generate electricity? 3 co-op companies put in a bid. So the person who got the bid was the person who promised the fastest rate, SA no. Secondary on the contract awards was within the AV junction. Then third, just because they really were more like gypsies and they wandered around the ventricles, couldn't give a permanent address, they got the 3rd bid. So they're deep in the bundle branches somewhere. Nobody knows exactly for sure. So, anatomically, right covers right, inferior, posterior, left. Left covers left, inferior, right. The right covers the top electrical conduction system, the left covers all bundle branches. That's it. So whether you have a left or a right bundle branch block, it's always a left coronary. When you have a right coronary artery occlusion, you have problems with the SA node and the AV junction. Make sense? So right covers right, inferior, posterior, left, top electrical conduction, OSAC and UC. Left covers left, inferior right, and all bundle branches. So remember our firing rates, 60 to 100, 40 to 60, 20 to 40. So that's just cardiovascular anatomy, physiology, coronary artery distribution. So right covers right, inferior left. Because remember, if we have 2-3 in AVF, 2-3 in AVF, that's inferior wall of left ventricle, correct?
Yes. Can you hear me?
So what coronary artery? Right? Which means we might have electrical conduction disturbances up here. Get it? Whereas left covers left, which is a lot more geography. And so if you have an LAD occlusion, left covers left, inferior right, and all bundle branches. So these people who have these major occlusions in the LAD, the widowmaker, they have changes in like V3, V4, and they develop bundle branch blocks. Everybody good with identifying bundle branch blocks? Only 2 rules?
Let's go over it again.
Yeah, let's go over it.
I don't know, when they kick me out, I gotta go.
No, we'll follow.
Or feed my meter, whichever. So 2 rules to identify bundle branch blocks. First and foremost, the rhythm must originate above the ventricles. Rule number 1, has to originate above the ventricles. Rule number 2, the QRS must be greater than 0.12. So it must be 121 milliseconds or greater. Got it? Those are the only 2 criteria. Period. At that point, you know you have a bundle branch block. So if you can say the rhythm is sinus, atrial, or junctional, they all originate above the ventricle, correct? So those 3. If you can say this is a sinus rhythm, you can have a bundle branch block. If you can say it's an atrial rhythm, you can have a bundle branch block. If you say junctional rhythm, you can have a bundle branch block. If you say ventricular rhythm, you can't have a bundle branch block. So rule number 1, it has to originate supraventricular. It has to originate above the ventricles. It's him.
That's you.
So rule number 2 is the QRS has to be greater than 0.12. So on a 12 lead, from the moment it gets to 121 milliseconds, and it's born up top, it's a bundle branch block. Then remember, you go to V1 to determine if it's a right or a left. V1, V1. V1's your diagnostic lead. So V1. So once you determine you have a bundle branch block, born north of the border, QRS greater than 0.12, I know I have a bundle branch block, look at the QRS in V1. A QRS can only end in 2 ways, is that not correct? You best understand that. A QRS can only end in 1 of 2 ways. It can either end in an R, or it can end in an S. It can never end in a Q. All right? So, a QRS complex can only end in an R, and an R always has to be what type of wave, positive or negative? It can only end in an S, and an S wave is always going to be negative. Okay? It's born up in the north of the border. It's got a wide QRS. I go to V1. I want to see how the QRS ends. Driving your car. When you want to make a right-hand turn, you flick the blinker up. So when V1 ends in an R wave and meets those criteria, it's a right bundle branch block. Get over it. It's done. Then, if you look at V1, you drive your car, you want to make a left-hand turn, you flick your blinker down. Negative. That means it's a left bundle branch block. Period. That's how you do it. All right, so always remember the 1, 2, 3, 4s of the heart. You have 1 heart, 2 sides, 2 arteries, 3 layers, 4 chambers, 4 valves. That's what you need to know about coronary artery and coronary anatomy and physiology. 1 heart, 2 sides, 2 arteries, 3 layers, 4 chambers, 4 valves. A heart's supposed to pump effectively, efficiently. It's supposed to have 2 sides, a right low pressure side that goes to pulmonary, a left high pressure side that goes to systemic. 2 coronaries, 3 layers, endo, myo, epi, 4 chambers, 2 upper, 2 lower, 4 valves, 2 AV, 2 semilunar. That's cardiology. Are you solid on your blocks, your AV blocks? Okay. 3 steps.
Timothy, we need to figure out like a system of videos.
You know how to send them?
Huh?